we go.
Hey, this is Shareen from the 4E podcast. We was on a little bit. We was doing a test run. But now we're live. We're ready to go for our program on tonight. So, what's up, Brian?
Hey, this is BC and the place to be. How y'all doing out there? We have some special guests today. We have actually special guests, but they're not actually human beings. What do we actually have going on tonight, Lady Shareen?
We got cameras on tonight. So, I mean... a lot of cameras, some cameras that Brian used that I've never used before. I've seen them before, but I never used them before. Literally, the way these things are, they're huge. A lot of them fits on your shoulders. So, you know, a lot of the men use those kind. Yeah. Because they go on your shoulders.
No, don't even try that. There's some ladies that back in the day used those cameras too. But before we get started, we are going to take a moment of silence. We're going to give respect to one of my dear friends who recently passed away, named Ramo Everett. He was my cool dude, lived right in the neighborhood. We grew up together, did a lot of things together. So we're going to take about a 30-second pause for the cause and just remembering him. All right? Thanks. All right, send your hearts out there for Ramo as he passed. And if anybody else out there got any loved ones, we send our due respect, enough respect to you guys out there that lost loved ones, whether it's been because of what's going on in the world today or they just died because of natural causes. But we are here just showing you our love. So what do we talk about on the 4E podcast, Lady Shareen?
We talk about education,
entertainment,
empowerment,
and enlightenment. And tonight we're going to definitely be talking about enlightening you about some of the things that we have in front of you. So, Lady Shareen, why don't you start off with the cameras?
Sure. So tonight we're talking about cameras. So we're talking a little bit about photography.
All right.
We're going to talk a little bit about videography and maybe a little bit of filmmaking if we got a little bit of time.
Okay.
So here we have your cameras here. And again, like I said, these are the big boys. Well, some of your big boys, because there are some cameras that are really huge, especially when you're on like TV sets and filmmaking sets. You have some really, really huge cameras out here. Yeah. But I'm going to bounce it back to Brian because he can talk a little bit about some of these older cameras because they're very old.
All right. Back in the day, long time ago,
there you go.
They actually had, if y'all can remember, they had the 16 millimeter cameras. Back in the day when I played high school football, we used the 16 millimeter cameras, and those were cameras that actually were film. And back in the day, before there was editing suites like Final Cut Pro and Adobe Premiere, you actually had to take the tape and you would play it with a light bulb that would project the image onto the wall. And at that time, sometimes the light bulb would get hot and the film would actually melt. And I remember when I was in high school that...
That's old, y'all.
Yeah, old, yeah. I remember in high school, they actually had us taking the film and learning how to slice it and put like a tape on it to put the film back together. So if you guys look at any of your Lauren Hardy old movies or those movies where they actually didn't talk and they just had caption underneath them, that was film.
Yeah, you know what? They actually taught us that in school.
No
I mean,
way,
not to actually do it, but
Yeah.
I mean the concept of it and how they had to splice it, put it
Wow.
together, you know. And they said it took so long because if something was wrong, they had to redo it. And they said it took forever to splice the film
Wow.
and then tape it together, you know, for each frame.
Yeah, but before we get into it, Lady Shareen, this is what episode?
I believe this is the 6th episode.
The 6th episode that we are coming to
know,
you
right?
on the 4E podcast. And tonight, even though we had a little delay because we were working through some of the technical difficulties,
Yes.
we actually are doing something for the first time. What are we doing today for the first time, Lady Shareen?
What are we doing today for the first time?
We are streaming.
Yeah.
We are live both on Facebook and on
YouTube.
So if you're out there and you want to send some hearts out there, please send us some hearts. Lady Shareen is definitely monitoring her page, and if you send some love, we're going to send some love. We're going to definitely represent you and let people know that you were watching us and listening in on us, so that we can let them know that the love is being shared. You got any hits yet, Lady Shareen?
I saw like the little eye live. It said 2, but I didn't see anyone pop up, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
But then I see that Daniel Heavens, sorry, that he liked it. So who is our Daniel Heavens?
Who is he?
Who is our
Oh,
Daniel?
he's one of our 2 young individuals that we have working alongside of us. One of the things that we do, in addition to talking about the things that we're going to talk about tonight, we actually have 2 young men who have recently joined, helping us with our IT,
Yes.
our video cameras,
Yeah, our sound.
our lighting.
Yeah, everything.
And really just setting up and breaking down every production that we do. And we are going to be out there in the near future. We have a doctor that's supposed to be coming on. He's actually out in California. He has a book called Knuckleheads. I've actually read through most of the chapters,
Okay.
and I'm going to have that person coming on. I think he's going to be one of our first Zoom.
Absolutely. You know, where's my book? I didn't get my book yet, Brian.
It's the ebook. I'm going to be sending it to you, Lady
Okay,
Shareen. You know you're going to have it.
Okay.
But in addition to that, we have a DJ, a famous DJ. I'm not going to shout out his name this week, but we'll shout out his name next week. He already told us he's going to come on, and we're going to be on at 7 o'clock, not this coming Monday, but the following Monday,
Yes.
because that's what time he gets finished doing one of his additional shows.
Yes.
And he said that he would be more than happy to come on. Let me just say he's right from the beautiful city of Elizabeth. He actually DJ with a famous artist, but now you got a little hint on who that person might be. But don't worry about it. When he comes on, he's going to definitely turn it up and turn it on because he knows about podcasting, and he's definitely been a mentor in helping us get through this. So I'm going to jump right in and just start talking about some of the video cameras that I have used over the course. And I'm not by any way saying that this is the only way you can go, or that this is the only technology
Right,
and or
absolutely.
brand, because
That's
what
right.
you see behind us, we have a variety of different cameras that have been used. So back in the day, I talked about film a little bit in reference to that you had to tape the film back together when it broke.
Called splicing.
It's called splicing. That's right. I remember that. And I mean, if you let the film sit too long, you actually got a vinegar smell to it.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but that's what we were told in school.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that was basically the film just breaking down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you remember the old Polaroid cameras back in the day, you understand exactly what I'm talking about, because people had used those cameras, and then if they let those pictures lying around, they started to fade and started to get spots on them. That was
that's
just
right.
really the chemical reaction.
Yeah.
And back deeper than that, Lady Shareen, before digital photography came out, people used to have a thing called a dark room. You want to talk a little bit about what the dark room was about? Because I know they taught you that in theory too.
They told us a little bit about it, but you know, it's developing the film, you know, or the picture. You know, you have a solution, and the room had to be dark.
It had to be dark.
You know,
it had to be a certain temperature.
Yes, and if not, then you would ruin all of the film.
Right. And I mean, if you watch back in the day, I think it was what was one of those shows? They used to actually have the guys in the film room before all of the new shows came up. Now they have all the new shows, and obviously what they do is they just go to the digital camera. But back at one point in time, they used to actually have to develop film. So what I want to do is just talk real quickly, because I got to leave room. Lady Shareen is definitely going to bring us some of the photography, and we're probably going to revisit this as time goes on, because we are always in the process of looking at new equipment, buying new equipment, and trying to up our game. You too, Lady Shareen. Don't even try that. So let's go back in time. I'm going to grab this camera right here.
Yeah, we're going.
Yeah, this was a super VHS camera, Panasonic. See that? Yeah, big camera. It used to actually use things like this.
Yeah.
For you guys that used to rent from Blockbuster and all the rest of those, what was the other store? Video.
Palmer Video.
Palmer Video.
Yes.
You used to get things like this. This is a super VHS tape. These things, man, when you put this in the camera and then you had to take the camera and you put that on your shoulder, you had a little bit of weight on you. Today, the technology has changed where you don't have to have as much weight.
That's right.
But can you imagine editing from this? And at one
Wow.
point, I think I bought a program. I think it was called Video Works or something like that. I can't Videonics or something like that. And what you had to do is you had to take that video, put that into your Super VHS deck. After you put it into your Super
Wow.
VHS deck, you had to download it. Now, this is the crazy part about that. That if
Sorry, y'all. Give me a minute.
yeah.
I'm trying to see
So-
who's on.
Okay, so what that was technical difficulties, but that's all right. We're good. So if you put this in, right, and let's say you edited an hour and a half, and then you forgot to put something in,
Oh, you in trouble.
and there's a rule for editors. I don't know if you all know this, but there's an underlining rule for editors. If you edit and you think you're going to create a 15-minute edit segment, you're probably going to spend between an hour to 2 hours getting that video up. Is that correct? Because you do some editing.
It might even take more time, depending upon the situation, depending upon how much footage you have. Back in the day, I'm sure it took much longer than it does now.
Yeah, because now you can. They actually have boilerplates where you can actually just drop stuff in and then it'll just run. When I went to the funeral, I think that's what they used because it was just so phenomenal.
Templates.
Templates. There you go. Yeah. So as time went on, and I jumped from the VHS to the Super VHS, which is the first camera I showed you. Then they went along, and I really wanted to show you this other Super VHS camera I had. I had a big Super VHS camera. It was just want to make sure I get my perspective in reference to the camera. It was real big. It was really, really big. And when you put that thing on your shoulder, I thought I was working for NBC, ABC, or CNN or something.
Yeah, they have very big cameras.
Yeah, I mean, that camera was so big, and it only could produce so much quality. I think 720 lines of resolution. Now you're up to 1080p. Actually, you're up to 4K, so you can even do more than that.
Yeah, some is 8K now.
Some is 8K, yeah. Even some of the phones now are shooting in 8K. Matter of fact, some of you are already out there in video land, and you are recording some of the videos that you do with your iPhone. Or whatever. So anyway, moving right along, because I'm going to definitely leave a lot of time for Lady Shareen to talk to us about cameras, is we went to this camera.
Thing is
Look at
big
that.
and huge.
Look how big that camera is.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to put this on your shoulder and having to videotape?
Yeah, you can have that.
Lady Shareen said I can have it.
Yeah.
Now, the good thing about this camera is I'm going to just... This is what is it? I can't remember. It's a JVC, and it's a mini DVD.
These right here.
Yeah. See that? So you actually had these. Now the thing about this is that these usually only recorded like up to 2 hours.
Right.
Then you had the big battery pack back here.
Yeah, that thing is huge.
And if you didn't have the battery pack, then you had a big charging station that you had to have.
Yeah.
I remember at one time I went to a place called, I think it's Aroma in the Bronx. Adorama. Yeah. And I remember buying a car battery. It wasn't a car battery, but it might as well have been a car battery. And I had wheels on a tripod, and that thing was so heavy, and that thing would last probably 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
And just the amount of juice that thing took in order to record.
That's a lot of money, too.
At that point, did a lot of weddings, and people were happy because that's where the quality was. Yeah. But then, here we go. Can you imagine going from that big camera to this? Now, this is a Canon, too.
Yeah.
XH-A1 Canon. Man, this camera had quick connects here. You had your XLR here that you can plug in. Camera had a good lens on it where you actually can just zoom in.
Yeah.
And
that was the best thing.
Yeah. So that camera was really a jump up again using the small tapes, but it allowed you to be a lot lighter. It gave you just as good of a lens as the other camera. But what it did is it lightened the weight. So what that meant is that you could be out.
Yeah, longer.
Longer.
Because a lot of times you have to walk around,
Yeah.
with the video on, or, get capturing different things, and to have that on your show. Imagine, when I was working on the set of NBC.
Yep.
And, they also have a camera person that helps, assistant camera person that helps with, the camera, because it's so big. So they would actually help them lift it to put it on their shoulder, and then they would, pull what's called pulling focus.
Wow.
So they would help with that. But they would also help them, like take it down. And sometimes if, once they say cut, and they kind of like need to change whatever, or, the director says cut and they need to do something different.
Wow.
Then what they would do is they would hold the camera, for the camera guy, because it was so heavy. And the camera guy has it on his shoulder for a long time sometimes.
That's crazy.
So they give them, a break, and they'll hold it, and they'll put it down somewhere else. But they are the ones who will take it from the the main camera person, and because they're heavy.
Well, what you have already seen is that there's been drops in sizes, and the quality has gotten better when the size of the camera has gotten smaller and more durable and lighter and easier to handle. That's one of the cameras that we're using now is a JVC GYHM camera. And that camera is actually a JVC. That's sitting up. That's giving us the 2-shot right now. That camera is light, again, small tape, and it records a lot better. And basically, actually, I'm sorry, that JVC doesn't even use that. I'm sorry.
I'm looking like,
go ahead, correct me.
It uses little SD cards, and if you're familiar with that, they brought one over here, but I don't see it anymore. Yeah. But they're little SD cards that we use.
The SD card. So imagine getting rid of these. Yeah. No more tapes. The tapes could probably do an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours at most. And then the SD cards, if you bump them down, you can go up to 2 to 4 hours. Yeah. However, most people record it in the higher quality, so they only record it like an hour and 54 minutes. I think that's what it is.
It depends on, what settings you put it in. Yeah. If you shoot in raw eats it very quickly.
Yep.
It eats it real quickly, but, you shoot in raw so that you can control in the editing.
Yeah. So you actually went from a big tape, VHS, and then they went to Super big VHS, and that was supposed to be the end-all, fix-all. And then they went to mini DVD. Yes. Some of you guys got involved with cameras, and I never understood why that was, but people started recording onto those small discs, and then you had to format the disc. You had to do a whole bunch of other things to the disc, and then at the end you had to render it, and if you didn't render it, then you lost all your information. So that was really crazy, But then they went to the small disc. The discs that Lady Shareen just talked about, and those discs were a lot easier. Now the thing about those discs is that you had to remember what was on them, because they didn't have a lot of writing space. With these, at least you could write stuff on the bottom or write stuff on the top.
Or the back. They had
on the back
pieces of paper. It actually was with lines.
Yeah.
And you can write on there what it was. But
what year, what date, what event. Yeah. Now with the discs, you basically just got them, put them into a container, put them in your pocket, and Lord forbid you didn't forget.
Or you need to dump whatever you just took and put it into, your laptop, because you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose it, because if you're doing something for someone and you lose it, then you don't have that footage. So you need to dump that as soon as possible. And
I remember at the end of many football games having my laptop that I bought, which was a Mac, and I actually had to take the little disc and I had to download it. So if the football game was 45 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes, it would take you about 30 minutes to upload it to the software, where now the coach, you could actually send that to the coach. Now they have things out there like Huddle, where basically you could just drop it right in there, just drag and drop. Yeah. And even last time I checked, when we used it, it took time for you to download. Yeah. Now there's individual programs out there where we do school athletics, where they actually record it live and they stream it live. Yeah. So COVID opened up a whole new market for
absolutely.
individuals that couldn't be there. Matter of fact, that market is something that we took I don't want to say we took advantage of, but we were in the position of power where we actually did a lot of funerals,
Right.
and we were able to record.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, as we jump from the mini tape to the SD card, now they have a new camera out that I just recently purchased, which I haven't even really used a lot. But that basically is this little baby right here. This is the baby that Lady Shareen cracks on me about and just laughs. This is a Sony product. All right? And with this Sony product, it does 4K. Now, obviously, they're going up to 8K. Right. But this camera has all the bells and whistles that just blows all of these cameras away. Just blows them away. Yeah. There's no comparison. The only thing that I think that we suffer with the Sony 4K is that it doesn't do as well in low lighting. Right. But other than that, the camera's crystal clear. Mm-hmm. You can stream from the camera. I think you can even add titles and stuff. We haven't gotten into the camera as far as we need to, but that camera was bought to help with our podcast and bring us up to the next level. So you're going to see us being able to broadcast or be able to produce video in 4K, even though the funny thing about it is that this is what happens with all technology. Right. In all my experiences, if they had Super VHS and it went up to 1080p, then the broadcasters were only broadcasting at 720. Right. Or if it goes to 1080p and now they have people that can broadcast in 4K, it's not coming across your TV. That's now, they may shoot something in 4K, but they still got to convert it.
Yeah, they have to convert it coming down, because a lot of 4K, they don't have 4K capability on your TV. So it'll still come in. You can shoot at 4K, but it comes out as 1080. Yeah,
and that 1080 is just what the standard is right now. I mean, there's going to come a time where I think last year's Super Bowl was actually shot in 4K, So they're trying to bring that out, but I think it's all about bandwidth.
Yes.
And if you don't have the bandwidth, then you can't really receive the signal. It's like for individuals that have cable, you can actually watch stuff at like a high definition level, right, or you can watch it at regular. Once you go high def, you may not want to ever go back because the quality is just so much better. And then the technology that most people have is, if you bought a TV a year and a half ago, the technology probably jumped 2 to 3 times.
Right.
Because everybody's trying to create something that's a little more beautiful to the viewing of the end user.
Absolutely.
And being able to make sure that they can see a quality of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So I would definitely suggest that wherever you jump in, whether you jump in with old school or you jump into new school or you jump into what's going on with 8K cameras now on your phones and all the rest of the stuff that's going on, that you just make an educated guess, because when you buy, this is the other thing that individuals have to be very conscious of if you're just getting ready to get into doing photography and or videography, is that the software you buy today will not last forever.
Right. And not so much the software. What I've learned is, the hardware. So whether it's your desktop, whether it is a laptop, if you're going to get into videos and editing photography, then, you have to kind of look at what is kind of the future. If they have it out, you have to go above, because you're talking about graphic cards, you're talking about your RAM and how fast your system is, because if you're talking, let's go with Adobe. So Adobe Premiere or either Adobe Photoshop If your computer is not up to date and if it's not up to par and if you do not have, the latest graphics that can handle it, it will tell you that it is not compatible. And so you go out and buy something and you're not realizing it. But when you go to try to get that software that they have out today, it will tell you that it's not compatible and you will not be able to use the software. So you have to make sure, before you buy it, look at those software that you're interested in using. Go and find out the specs on it and see what you need before you go and buy a computer or a laptop. Because if you buy the wrong one, you're going to be stuck.
Yeah, and then the other thing you have to do is you have to learn about the interfaces and the plugs. We just basically had a situation where we bought some software. We had a 30-day trial, and we thought we were good. And then all of a sudden, we come to find out that the software didn't support the interface of the hardware.
Right.
So what ended up happening was that we had to contact the company and let them know that that software that they sold us wasn't as current as we would have liked it to be. So we have to actually tell them at the end of our 30-day trial that we were no longer going to renew with them, and we kind of wanted our money back. So what's the easiest thing to do is to find something to buy. What's the hardest thing to do is to make sure that it's compatible.
Yeah, this is very true. This is very true because I went through that, with the graphics card. And one thing about that is they're always changing technology, even the software, and it gets annoying. It was very, very annoying to me because the software keeps changing and then your graphics cards get out of date.
Yeah.
And so, when you need, if you need to edit a video or edit some photography, and then you go in there and it's like, oh, shoot, it's not compatible no more, because my graphics card is outdated, and you could have just bought the computer.
Right. And then on top of that, you have to make sure that your computer is running the most latest software updated system. Yeah. Because I bought my computer last year, and I think there's been 3 updates already. So every time they update it, they're kind of moving away from the old technology and moving something closer to the newer technology. So what happens is that you buy a software, and it tells you got to have 10.6, 0.1, 0.3, version 6. If you have version 5, your software may not run on that version.
It may not run on that version.
And then you're going to sit there thinking you could edit, and you can't edit nothing because you can't get it in there.
You can't get it in there. And it will tell you. And then, too, what I've ran into as well is on my desktop, I have a latest graphic card. Enough to do what I need to do, but then on the laptop it's different as far as Adobe Premiere is concerned. Okay. And so if I edit on my laptop and then put it inside, backwards. If I edit on my desktop and then I come and try to put it on my laptop, it tells me that it's too old and it will not open. And, that can be really, really worrisome if you are working, and doing something. So I'm like, wow, I could not edit. So I had to take it back to my desktop to work on it because I could not take it with me at all.
Yeah. The other thing of it.
At all.
The other thing is just look at, I have an older laptop. I have an older desktop. I've gotten so much equipment over the course of time, and everybody is in this quandrum, that you buy stuff, you update, you buy newer stuff, you update, you buy newer stuff. So what happens is after you turn around, you be like, oh man, look at all this stuff I got collected. I feel like I got the Sanford and Son collection of all these old pieces of equipment just lying around that I'm never going to use again. Or bought this monitor to go with that desktop. I bought this desktop, and after a while you're like, wow, man, how much money did I really spend on this stuff? And they got us. They got us, Lady Shareen.
A sales guy told me, he said, what you want to do, like I said before, is, look for things that is not out yet, far out, it may just come out, but future, how he say it? future proof it.
Yep. Future proof it.
Yeah, future proof it. He said because technology go by so quickly and by the time you turn around, you can't use that software anymore, or you can't use that system anymore. And like I said, I've been through it, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
And then you got to think about all of the other things. Even though today it's gotten a lot better, but I remember even some of the SD cards, when you format some of the SD cards to tape and you videotape in Mac, you just can't take that formatted card and go play on the PC.
No,
what happens, Lady Shareen?
You actually have to do it before you use it.
Wow.
So you have, especially, I should have bought it and I didn't bring one. What is called an external hard drive. And I'm sure some of you know what that is, but external hard drives, if you don't partition it for Mac and partition it for Windows before you even use it, you have to partition it. So one part is for Windows and one part is for Mac. If you don't do that, then you can't use it between the two.
Yeah, and then that presents a dilemma, even when you partition it, because when you partition it, then that means that you're only using half of what you have in your storage, whether your half is for PC or whether your half is for a Mac. So these are just some of the things that you if you're going out there and you're trying to get into the video arena, or you're trying to get into the photography arena, which we're getting ready to change into photography in just 1 minute, then you're going to have to really kind of just figure out where you want to jump in. Because once you jump in, pretty much that's where you're at.
This is true.
You can't say, oh, I'm going to do half of my stuff in PC and half of my stuff in Mac, and then, find out that you formatted your cameras for PC, but then they don't convert and they don't talk to a Mac, and then you're going to be like, well, I'm having software issues. You're not having software issues. You're having editing issues because, the way it goes right now, if you want to buy Final Cut Pro, and I'm not necessarily condoning that you do that or you don't do that, you have one that is a version for PC and one that's a version for Mac.
Well, PC, you can actually get a lot of different things for PC. Yep. The only thing you can't get is whatever products is for Mac. So I should stand
corrected. Adobe Premiere, is that more appropriate of a name that you can use?
Well, Adobe is actually with Creative Cloud, Adobe Creative Cloud, which give you a lot of different things that you can use, but you can use that with both. You can use that with PC and Mac.
Okay, so that's what I was talking about. I knew you was going to help me get out of that hole. I just thought for myself, leadership.
But Final Cut is only for Mac.
Right. And at one point I jumped in, and I'm still now at trying to figure out which way I'm going to go in reference to my editing software for my update, because I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard plate. I don't want to buy something that has been let's just say it's not as creative as it once was, and I'm not going to tell you what product it is. You do your research. All right, but there was a product that actually at one point everybody was gravitating to. They were just going there. They're like, oh, I gotta get this. And then they started having plugins that couldn't be used with them. And then they started having software that wasn't going to be updated and supported. Then they started having transitions that were being omitted. Then you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. And after a while, people were like, I want to use all of my creative mind. So if you want to use your creative mind, you got to buy a software that's going to allow you to use your creative mind.
That's right. On both. On PC and Mac.
Yeah. And then you got to figure out if you can exchange those two and bring something from one to the other. And some you will be able to jump course and be able to be supported. And then others you won't be supported on. And you're going to be like, oh, well, I love this product because the plugins are just out of this world.
Right.
But then you go in and you say, oh, man, but I updated my software and it's not going to support that old hardware, that old software that I actually had on my computer. Yeah. So that's the dilemma that anybody and everybody in the editing world faces. It's just part of the course of action. So you always got to find out. And unfortunately, as there are not a whole lot of companies out there that just does the software. I mean, that does the editing. I mean, there's a few known ones, and do your research, and you'll find out who they are. And then you got to figure out if that's where you're going to jump in or that's where you're not going to jump in. But the funny thing that I have to say, and this is the last piece of the video that we're going to talk about, is that at one point, used to buy the software and it lasts forever.
Right.
And
no more.
And you could move it, you do whatever you want to do.
This is true.
Now today, you buy a license, bro, just like a DJ Pro or DJ whatever. When I DJ, I have a software that it can only be put on that one computer. If that computer gets taken, lost, damaged, and that license was bought for that computer, you can't go to the manufacturer and say, hey, can you move this? More than likely, they're going to tell you, no, you got to buy another licensing. So let's make that segue right now, Lady Shareen. Let's jump right into photography.
Sure.
Because this is really important for all those individuals out there.
Yes. So now you're able to buy cameras where you can actually do video and photography. And they're much smaller. So I will show you one that I have. It's right here, and it is the Canon T4i. This is actually what I started with.
No way.
So I literally got this in 2013. 2013, I bought this camera, and it was so funny because I switched my major from business to filmmaking, and I asked my professor, what camera can I start off with? And that's the one that he recommended. And it was so funny because I was so gung-ho about the filmmaking, wow. And when I got the camera and it came, I was so excited. I was really happy. The first thing I did was, mess around with the video. And then, messing around, I looked and I said, oh, it's a photography button on here. And so I switched it to the photography side. And wow. I'm like, whoa, this takes nice pictures. And I wasn't even thinking about the pictures at all. I was just so gung-ho about the video. But, it takes great pictures. And the thing about these, these are called DLSR. And so what it is, again, you can do video and photography. Just change, the settings on here on the top. They are all different types of brand names. I like to use Canon. And this right here is where you can interchange your lens. There are some cameras that you cannot interchange lens at all. So, for instance, let me see which one. I think this one, if I'm not mistaken, this one. No, this one is interchangeable. Okay. But there's some that's not interchangeable. I don't know if you have one up here.
Yeah, this one.
Okay, so this lens stays on there. Like, you cannot interchange that lens at all. You cannot. So that's the so some people feel like, oh, I can't get this or I can't get that. It's only just one focal length, with that, or it's just whatever comes on that camera. So whatever comes on that is on that. But when you get something like this, or some of these are interchangeable. I think this one definitely is. That one may not be. The new Sony, that is not interchangeable. So if you're looking for things, to where you want maybe a 50 millimeter, you want a 35 millimeter, if you want an 85 millimeter, if you want different things, you have to get a camera that has interchangeable lens like this camera does. So, and then two, depending upon what you are doing, like me, I do both. I do filmmaking, I do video production, and I do, and I do the photography. So I have different types of lens. This lens right here is called Jirokinon, and this is an 85 millimeter, but this one is more for filming and video production. It's almost like a cinema lens. These lenses cost a lot of money.
What would something like that go for? Approximately.
I don't remember because I bought this a while ago and I barely use it.
Okay. But would you say $500, $700 range?
I would say they start at, I don't even know if I should say start at $5.
Technology changes, so whatever it was isn't what it is.
I think they may start at $5.
Okay.
For this one, I believe.
Okay.
And then you have something like this.
Oh man, that looks like a big boy.
Something like this is your telephoto lens. And this one, you know, a lot of people that do sports, photography, they use this one. You know, this is what it looks like, and you put it on to, I'll show you guys how to do it.
Kind of looks like the Hubble telescope.
Yeah, this thing is huge. It's big. This is another one that can be expensive. They have two different. They may have a few different ones, but the main two is your 2.8 and your 4. And this one is a 4. This one was much cheaper than the 2.8. 2.8 is very expensive. So you match up the dots. If it's a white or red, actually the white tells you what it is. The red tells you what it is. And you just put it on like that, and there you go.
How would a person shoot with that? Just give them a kind of a stance. Can you give us a sitting stance on what you would do if you were taking a picture with that Tele lens? Sure. Where would your arm be? Where would your elbow be? Et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. So, of course, you would have to take the lens cap off. And then you would see how far you need to shoot, how far your subject is away from you. This goes from 70 millimeter to 200 millimeter.
Wow.
So it depends on how close, how far. Now, if you know that you're in a tight space, you can't use this. You need to be, your subject needs to be kind of far away from you. You definitely cannot use this right here. Like, for instance, Brian sitting here, right here to me, I would not be able to take a picture of him because, it would be literally hold on, if I can kind of show even him. Yeah, there's no card in there, so it's not even gonna let me take the picture.
Okay,
so he would be too close to me though with this lens because this is a telephoto lens, so it reaches up to 200 millimeter. He would be too close, and it wouldn't even gauge right. So this is a big. So right here is where you twist from 70 to 200. So you would just twist it to the number you want, and this right here would be your focusing ring.
Okay.
And it also tells you. It also has. Move that out the way. Autofocus and manual focus. So manual focus is when you actually turn this, most of the time, like when you're doing filming, you do manual focus. You don't want to do autofocus. You do manual focus when you're filming. Pictures, it depends on if you're doing a person that's just standing still, like portraits, you could shoot in manual mode, with your lens. I'll talk about shooting in manual mode with the camera. Or, you could leave it on autofocus if that's what you want to do. If you are shooting people that are moving, it should be in autofocus because you don't have time to manually focus on them while they're moving. So this has a button here to go from autofocus to manual focus. Then you have 1.2 meter and 0.3 meter, which is here. You can change that as well.
So I have a quick question real quick. Sure. while you're jumping through the lenses. Sure. So if I'm like a person that wants to get into photography, how do I start? Where do I go? Do I go to a store like B&H? Do I go to a store like Best Buy? Do I go to where do I go? How do I figure all of this stuff out? Do I do research by just Googling stuff? And then once I get their cameras, how do I get proficient at knowing how to maneuver and manage taking good quality shots? And then if I want to actually go into opening up a business doing this, how does that progression happen?
So there's so many different ways to start. So if you want to get training, you can go take a class and get training. If you go, there is a store called B&H Photo Video in New York, and that store is humongous. But you can go there. They do offer webinars, and I think they offer classes, but they do different things where you actually can go over there too. I don't know about now with COVID, but before you were able to go out there and you were able to sit in, the classes, and they'll show you lighting, they'll show you the cameras, they'll show you different types of ways to do it. And then there is another store called Adorama. I think they may do it too. There's another store that does classes and webinars, which is Unique Photo. That's up north, North Jersey. Of course, you can Google it. You could do YouTube. and that'll teach you and show you how to do photography, how to start it. But basically, you can buy a camera depending upon your budget, depending upon what you want to do with it. You can, buy a starter camera. I like to buy kits because that'll get you your camera, your lens, and sometimes they'll throw in other little stuff that you're definitely going to need.
A carrying bag, very important.
A carrying bag.
Highly important.
Yes, carrying bag. You'll get little doodad stuff like maybe your lens cleaner.
Lens caps,
lens caps, and other things to take care of the lens. I try to get a package again because the lens are very expensive. So when you get a package, sometimes it's a little cheaper because buying a lens by itself sometimes is more than the camera itself.
A lot of times.
Yeah. It's more than the camera itself, and it's like, you're kidding me. Why is this lens cost so much money? But the camera. Some cameras come just the body. I've brought my last camera that I brought is one of the ones that we're using to film. It's a Canon, and I brought just the body for that because I already had lenses. They're all different types of lenses. This is a prime lens.
Yeah, I was going to wonder when you're going to get to all those other lenses you have in front of you. We have a little bit less than 20 minutes left, and we want to make sure that you can cover all these lenses and all these bodies. You got a couple more bodies on the
absolutely
camera bodies on the table.
So we had the 50, and this is a very, very good lens. This is a 1.4. And again, it has manual focus, autofocus, and then it is 1.4. This actually, they call it a prime lens, but this is a wonderful lens in low light. So low light means like if you're in a dark place, I don't know if you can really see this. You may not, I don't know. But it has a wide opening here. That means it lets a lot of light in. And sometimes when you're in low light, like if you were in a church and it's dark, or if you're filming somewhere and it's, kind of dark, this lens opens up really wide so that more light can come in. And then, it'll close. Let's see if I could close it since it's not on the thing. No, it's not going to close on here because it has to be on the camera. So I love this lens, and it's nice and clear. It's very good for bokeh. That's something else I would have to a whole nother thing to explain. Bokeh. But it's very good. It blurs your background really good so that your subject stands out.
Okay. Is that also for close-ups? Is it a wide angle? Like, for example, if you had a family get together and they wanted a portrait of everybody that was in the family at this function, is that one of the lenses that you would use? It's
not a wide lens, but what you would have to do if you have enough space is you would have to just back up enough to get everybody in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a wide lens, but it's a very nice lens.
So do we have a wide lens on the table?
The wide lenses actually are on the cameras that we're using.
Okay.
So I can't show you the wide lens.
What cameras are we shooting with if you want the public to know?
Sure, why not? Canon 90D. And then Brian's camera is the JVC.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this one right here.
This is another Canon. Reach around.
This is another Canon. So this is a 70D.
A 60, a 70, and a 90.
Right. Well, Brian has a 60. I have the 70, and this is a T4i. So these are two different types of, I guess, model family. They're two different. So this is your, I don't know. This is the 70, the 50, the 60, 70, 80 line. This is your T4i, T4,
okay.
Your T5i, stuff like that. But this one, they're similar, in the menu and everything. This one does more than this one.
Right, because the T camera basically was a starter camera. Is that correct?
That was a starter camera for me, yes.
And then when you got into the Ds, then you got into a little more professional.
Right. It's a little more. But what makes a person more professional is how they use the camera.
Wow.
A lot of people, get a camera and they just point shoot, or they get a camera and they use what's on the camera, all the different settings as far as what's already locked in. But when you use it in manual mode, that's what tells you that you're a professional or non-professional.
That's your artistic ability coming true, huh?
Right, because you have full control over the camera when you shoot in manual mode. Full control.
When I bought my 60D, I just was like, I'm gonna go outside and shoot everything. I'm gonna shoot cars, birds, trees, snow. And then after a while, I was like, man, this camera got too much stuff in it, because it had a lot of different things you can do. So you kind of got to be willing to do the time, and if you want to really learn your cameras.
Yeah, you definitely have to take time. You have to practice all the time, because different lenses works different in different lighting. So when you're doing photography and film, you have to learn more than just your camera. You have to learn how to use the lens. Let me see. I have one lens that just works in manual. It's not. I think it's this one, and I think this one is a 35 millimeter. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's a 35, or the maximum is 35 on this one. This one right here is totally manual. Like, there's no autofocus at all on this one. So you definitely have to know how to focus. As a matter of fact, you have to learn how to focus on your camera, not just using autofocus, but manually focus on your camera. That also will give you a crisp, clear photo. And again, like I said, you can't just learn the camera itself, but you have to learn lighting. You have to learn depth of field. You have to learn your ISO. You have to learn your shutter speed. You have to learn your f-stops. So you have to learn all this stuff to, start to do professional work.
And in addition to that, you have to understand what's coming in, because a lot of times people be like, oh, I'll just take a picture. And they're like, the picture came out so dark. Well, you were standing in front of a window. The sun was coming through the window.
Right.
You had it on autofocus, so the camera tried to adjust itself. But what happens is you get a silhouette.
Right. You will get a silhouette when the sun is coming in, or even in, any light that's coming in. And if it's too much light, or too little, because it depends on the opening of the lens, so you have to know what f-stop, what ISO that the camera is on. So it's very important. Those are three important things to know about a camera: is your shutter speed, your ISO, and your f-stop.
But even when you're just taking a picture with your phone, I often have to tell people, if they're taking a picture, say, come on, let's take a picture. Let's take this group shot. And the sun's behind them. I say, oh, no, you got to turn that around. You just can't take that, because then you're going to get all kinds of shadowing. You're going to get people that are darker in complexion aren't going to show up as bright as a person that's lighter in complexion. So a lot of times people are like, oh, let's just take a shot. And, everybody's a professional photographer tonight. Right. You didn't know that, Lady Shareen? Yeah, everybody knows how to take pictures.
Absolutely.
But the reality is there are some key things that you already talked about. The f-stop,
it's very important.
Yeah.
And not just in photography, but also in video. Learning filmmaking, it's almost, coincide with each other, because you have to have good lighting. If you don't, your video is not going to come out good at all. And you still have to know the f-stops, the shutter speed, because if someone is walking, or, if a car is going by, you have to know what setting to put your camera on. Otherwise, it will be either slow, or it'll be too fast, or you'll get
blurred.
Or it'll be blurred. So you have to know what settings to put the camera on, even when you are filming. You have to know what type of lenses that will give you what you're looking for. You may want depth of field. So it all depends. You have to learn a lot of stuff. It's not just getting the camera and just pointing it, if you want to get into photography and video.
Now, you have a few more lenses that you actually haven't even touched that are sitting on the table. You want to just discuss what those are?
It was just I think it's maybe two. So this one is just a 35 millimeter. That one is pretty simple. It's nothing really big with that one. This one is another telephoto lens, and this one is 55 to 250.
Okay.
And this one is a good one. You can use this for sporting, portraits. This is a good lens as well.
Okay.
The only thing is, this one to me is a little more noisier than the other one because, you know, it stretches out. And when you're taking a picture, this automatically sometimes go out or it'll come in because it's trying, especially if you have an autofocus, because it's trying to, you know, put the things in focus, and sometimes it's going back like this and like that. And I'm like, wow. So this one is a little more noisier. That's another thing too. You know, you don't want too much noise, or you don't want too much graininess in the picture and stuff like that. And then also, this is a flash that you can put, yes, that you can put on top of the camera.
Okay.
You put it on top of the camera, and you know, if you are at a party or something, it bounces the light. You can bounce the light wherever you want. So if you need to bounce it off of the wall back this way, you shoot this way with it. If you want to bounce up and want the light to come down this way, then you shoot it up. So it depends on where you want the light to bounce. You do that. And you also have, if you don't have that on, if I can get it up, you also have a bounce card here.
Wow.
That you can use, a bounce card.
Now, I've seen individuals that have setups where they could actually set their lights, and I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about, and they can be remotely controlled.
Yes.
Meaning when you hit the flash, the camera will send a signal to the flash light, or the flash, and then it will light exactly at the time it's supposed to in order to give you the right exposure. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I actually have, I totally forgot, I could have had one out. So I have something, it's circular, and this goes in it, it sits in there.
Okay.
And so what it is you need a remote and a transmitter.
Okay.
And the transmitter sits on here.
Okay.
And
On the body.
Right, on the body of the camera, and it shoots here. You know, so that's how it's it comes. What is it? A hot shoe. Hot shoe is, you know, what fits here. And the transmitter, it transmits to this, and so I can have this on a tripod with the little thing, the circle thing, and it fits.
Wow.
It fits like snugly in there, and I can have it, let's say, even in an umbrella to shoot, you know, and then it'll emit light where I want it to, or I could just have it just like this, and it'll shoot at wherever I want to, what I need it to shoot at.
An umbrella, tell me if I'm wrong, but an umbrella is another way of diffusing light. It like bounces off of the back of the umbrella, and then it brings the light out.
Yes.
So it covers. So there's
we actually have an umbrella in here,
and we're actually using it today.
It's a soft box is what they call it.
Wow.
And yeah, so the light bounces, and you position it where you want to. For instance, if on this side of my face is really dark, I can use the umbrella to bounce light onto this side of my face.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that we do every single podcast is that we constantly work on making sure that our lighting is adequate. Matter of fact, just recently we actually purchased some additional lighting. What kind of lighting was that, and is that lighting that we actually use, Lady Shareen? Can you just talk a little bit about lighting to the audience in reference to the lights that we have in front of us?
Sure. So we're using LED lights, and I believe LS Limo Studio is where we got them from. But yeah, so they have let me see, it's a button in the back to where you can actually, it goes from 0 to 99. So you can dim it, you know, and you can make it bright as it can, or you can dim it. And it also have barn doors on them so that you can direct the light or you can diffuse the light. And
then you also have colors that come with them. I think they come with 2 colors.
Warm, and then your regular, just a diffuser. So actually come with 1 color, and then you can diffuse the light.
Wow, so it's amazing. We started with videography. We went into photography. We went from photography into videography photography, and then we actually hit on some lights. And you have something you want to show the audience?
Sure. So the light is the shape of this, actually, and this is actually like a diffuser. So it diffuses the light, but this one makes the light warm. So if I put this on the light that we have already, it'll look as if I'm like in the sun. Like it makes it warm. It's like daylight.
Okay.
So it'll look like it's daylight or it's sunny. So if you are going for that look, it show like it's. So this is called warm.
Wow.
This is warm.
Wow, that a lot of information, Lady Shareen.
Yeah.
So if individuals wanted to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
So since we're on Facebook, they can inbox me, or they can email me. So I am at Shareen, M as in Mary, C as in Charlie, L as in Larry, K as in Kite at gmail.com.
And we're not ending anytime in the near future, but probably in the next 10 minutes. So what happens if individual wants to come on and share some of the knowledge that they have in reference to the actual podcast? Because we are looking for individuals to come on and to bring some interesting topics. Again, we are about the education,
The empowerment,
the entertainment,
and enlightenment.
So if you have something that you wish to discuss and you think that the listening audience could gain from that, because it's all about the positivity that we do here at the podcast, then we would definitely invite you. Matter of fact, Lady Shareen, you want to share the email, the website where they can go on and they can actually book a date with us and send us what their content is about, and then we can get back to them and see if that's available.
Sure. So our website is bcproductionseee.com. You can go there and I believe it says bookings.
Yes.
You can just click that and it should take you to a page where you can actually put all your information in there. If it doesn't work, just let us know, but I believe it does. And also there's a button to subscribe. You can subscribe to it.
And there's you can always send out. I think you also created another button for like. Or is that under the
not yet?
Not yet. Okay,
that's
so
just on Facebook.
That's definitely coming up. So if you see us on Facebook and you're watching us on Facebook, please like us, because we are trying to build a community. And in our community, we obviously want to grow and bring in more entertaining and enlightening things that will actually help individuals grow. Because with our podcast, it's not just about the information that we're putting out there. It's about connecting with you out there as a listening audience.
Yes.
And
yeah, I mean,
we know we have a lot to share.
Right. And not only that, but there is going to be a lot of things that we're going to do. I mean, there could be evenings where it's like, oh, I don't feel like listening to that. That's boring at night. But there are some times where it's really, really, really going to be some good segments, some good people.
Yep.
Trust me, we're going to try to get some people in, that are very exciting. We're going to try to get, some people that is from the film industry, the TV industry. Already have some people that want to come on, but they are working at the moment, and I have to wait until the season is over for them to come in. Once you work on TV networks, once you work on those sets, I'm telling you, you have no life whatsoever, because you're working so many hours. I remember I was working from 60 to 80 hours every single week for like 5 to 6 months.
Wow.
And that's a lot. Like, I had no life. My family was laughing at me because I would come home and do much of nothing, go to sleep, get up early before anybody even got up. So, I mean, it was
went
crazy.
back to get on set.
Yeah, to go back to get on set. Yeah, it was crazy. So I'm waiting, for the season to be over on, some of the TV shows that they're working on. So they're excited and want to come on. We're going to bring some good people on. We're going to have some good times. And sometimes we're going to be out on the field. So we're not going to always be here in the studio. So we have a lot of good things in store. Sometimes we are going to also give away some stuff and have some contests. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
So we already have given away one gift, and that was a trumpet, and we're going to be giving away another gift sometime in the very near future. So tune in for that. But let's just face it, guys. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're doing, all of these things that you see before you, the lights, the cameras, the equipment, the software, this all is coming out of our pocket. So we are going to ask. And I think our Donnie, you actually set up a page where people can cash app us. What is the Cash App?
Capital T, the rest is lowercase, the 4E podcast.
Capital T, lowercase,
The rest is lowercase,
the 4E's
podcast.
podcast. You can Cash App us if you wish to help us continue to grow our community, because all of these things take place, not only the lighting, the video, the cameras, the software, but also the electricity, the rent of the facility. And we're not going to beg for this, because we know we have a good product, and we know that this is going to come, and we know that this is going to grow. But we understand that outside of all of that, because even the mentees that we have, that we're mentoring, we actually try to help them out from time to time,
Yes.
just help them get down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we do that is because we pour into their lives, not only through the physical training, because, man, I'm telling you, I wish somebody at the age of, when I was in my teenager years, that somebody would have said, hey, do you want to come and do this and learn something new? We ain't going to, give you a whole
Right.
lot. But at the end, we're building character. We're building something that they can put on their resume. We're building something that later on in life, who knows? They might be, who did you work with in New York on that movie set?
Oh, NBC. Oh, you mean the person?
The person. What was his name again?
I worked with Jennifer Carpenter. Actually, it was a lot of people, but I'm not going to take the time to run everybody.
Yeah,
but
no.
Jennifer Carpenter, Morris Chestnut, what was his name? Is it Andrew McCarthy?
Yeah, but the reason
There was
I'm
a lot of
asking you
them.
that is not so much as who they are,
Right.
but the fact that they probably got to start. Somebody
Right.
gave them an introduction to film and to acting and to being a lead role player.
Right.
So the things that we're doing here, we're going to do that with the public. We want individuals, if you have a child that has a gift and wants to come on, and maybe they play the violin, or maybe they sing. Those are the kind of individuals that we want to come on.
Yes.
Because we know that we're just going to be giving them a venue in which to show their craft, or as I call it, their gift, because we all have them. Lady Shareen, you have your gifts.
Yes.
I have my gifts. And these gifts are what allows us to be able to do this. I mean, a lot of the things that I'm learning today, I'm learning through Lady Shareen because she knew it. And then some of the things that she's learned from me because I had the gift.
Absolutely.
And we want to share our gifts with you out
Right.
there, our listening
Absolutely.
audience.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
you see the pose on our flyer. You know, should I
That's
just
it.
transition to it real quick? Let me just
Hey, why
transition.
don't you?
You see that, so we are open. We are willing,
Right.
and we are able to basically bring you this 4E podcast, and we want you to subscribe. We want you to like. We want you to share. We
That's
want
right.
you to communicate with people out there and letting them know that we exist so that we can build a following, so that one day you'll be able to see somebody that you know. Because we're not only doing it with individuals, we are actually going to be going to some businesses.
Absolutely. That's why I said, before we're going to be going out, in the field, and yes, businesses or, people that have some talents, where it just behooves us to go out, in their element, where it's bigger, or their element where they have tools, in their establishments where they can't come here. But yeah, so we're going to be doing all of that. So listen, if you want to be a part of it, jump on the train now.
Choo choo!
Jump on
Get
that.
ready to leave the station.
Jump on that train now. And again, I will be reaching out to people that I know, do different things. And, we do have some people coming in that we already know of, and, businesses, talents, if you are doing anything, actors, models, whatever you do, and if you want to come and be a part and share what you do and get the word out, it's all about, it's not about us, but
Okay.
it's about the audience out there. And it's about supporting what you do and giving you a platform for what you do so people can know who you are.
Okay.
This is why we're here.
Well, Lady Shareen, you brought us in. I'm going to let you take us out. So I just want to say one thing out there to all the people that are out there that are in need and are looking for a way out and looking for a way in. the 4E podcast is open to you. Please don't be shy. Don't be ashamed. We'll come to you. You can come to us. We can make this thing happen. We have a community that's growing, and we know that you are going to be a part of it. And that's what we hope for, and that's what we anticipate. So, Lady Shareen?
Yes, absolutely. All that stuff he just said, I agree with it totally. So yes, thank you. If you caught us live, if not, hopefully you'll watch what's already on Facebook, that you'll watch us again. Give us some comments. Let us know. If there's an episode you don't like, let us know. Tell us, what you don't like about it. Tell us what you do like about it, because then it helps us. I love critiques. So, it lets us know what we need to do better. It helps us to know how we could better serve our audience who was listening. So we thank you. If you were on tonight, we thank you if you're going to watch it later. And this is a good night to everybody. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.